Thank you for listening. So now I will go ahead and introduce our esteemed guest, Sicco Bauer. We're very excited to have him. I think him and Chris Kaiba are really spearheading this Nachtlicht app, which allows us to create lighting inventories in public areas by counting and classifying artificial light sources. I think there's a special campaign right now that's actually going on to really try to count as many lights as we possibly can. But I'll tell you a little bit about Sicco. He's been participating in the citizen science project Nachtlight since the beginning of the summer in 2019. He's also a hobby astronomer at the Dresden Gonsdorf Observatory, and he's been interested in light pollution, its origin and impact for many years. And he lives in Dresden, Germany. So Sicco, thank you for joining us all the way from Germany. If you haven't already, please pop a hello in the chat with where you are calling in from. And I will spotlight Sicco and turn it over to him.
Thank you very much, Betty Meyer. I am really happy that we got the opportunity to, I have to share my screen just a second, that we got the opportunity to, just a second. Okay. That we got the opportunity to present our project here, and it's called Nachtlicht Bühne in German, which is Nachtlicht is Nightlights, and basically it's as Betty Meyer already told you, a citizen science project where we are interested in which and how many and which different artificial light sources are in an area. This can be done with our application for pretty large areas, and our main goal is to see the main reasons behind bright skies, light pollution and such. Okay, I will guide you through this process. This is actually a photo of mine with Maria. We are just using the app that's like it is looking, and you will get, I will give you a feeling of how the application is used by participants later on in this talk. Our current motto is we count the lights because the night counts. Just a second. I will tell you the following things. First of all, citizen science. Maybe you are not familiar with citizen science, so I will give a brief introduction in another project called Globe at Night and what can be achieved by citizen scientists. I will tell you then why are we counting lights in the first hand, then later on how it is done. So how is it done in our project, what have we achieved, and how is Nightlights app used by participants. And last but not least, the most important part why I'm here today, I want to kindly ask you to join us on our current campaign, Time for the Light. Okay, as for citizen science, what is citizen science? Citizen science is a collaboration between scientists and citizens in an area that can only be done by collaborating in a large, where many people in different places collaborate. One of these examples is the Globe at Night app, which is hosted in the US by Lab, and the application is shown here. It's an application to measure night sky brightnesses that is done by comparing the visual appearance of the night sky when you look at it with predefined charts from the current months of the year. How does it look like? You can visit the web page and download charts like these ones, and the night sky appears under a different visual appearance when there is light pollution, because light pollution leads to brightening up the night sky, and you cannot see the dimmest stars. So from left hand to right hand, this is all the same. This is an area of the summer Milky Way here in Northern Europe, around the constellation of Orion and Orion, for instance. And when you use the application, you do not need any device. You just need your eyes. Go outside, take a look in the sky, and then compare how does the constellation look like. And the next thing you have to do is, where am I currently and what time it is? And by doing or answering all these questions, people did this all over the world, doing it continuously. I'm pretty sure there's someone around the world doing it just now. And when a lot of people all over the world do this, then scientists can work with those results and gain some new knowledge about things that can only be done with citizen science. For instance, here, earlier this year, like half a year, to beginning of 2023, article in a Science magazine was published where it says citizen scientists report global rapid reductions in visibility of stars from 2011 to 2022. Or let's say in my words, the dark sky, or the sky has brightened up in a much rapider way than it is done or measured by, for instance, satellites. Satellites suggest that there is a worldwide 2% in raising of dark sky brightness, but citizen scientists reports much larger areas of like 10%. So there are many ideas why this is so. I do not want to go in depth in this, but I just will show you that citizen scientist is a valid way to gain new knowledge about things, right? Okay. Nachtlichtbühne, who are we? We, as Betty already told you, Betty Meyer, sorry, already told you, we our project was funded in 2019 in the summer, so I've been contributing to it for almost 4 years now. It's a citizen co-design project. What does this mean? This is not only that scientists plan what citizens have to do or participants have to do, but rather here, from the very beginning, citizen scientists were introduced, and we together with a core team and our co-design team with the researchers developed the goals for our project and the actual application where measurements or service can be done. There are two different projects in this Nachtlichtbühne. One is about fireballs, ours is light emission. I will later on show you a link where you can go to our website and download the application you need to do surveys. Please bear in mind you always look for night lights application, not the fireball one. Okay, why are we counting lights? This is a picture from Middle Europe and the United Kingdom. It's actually satellite data. It's not a photography, but rather an image where the radiance, so the brightness of the ground area a satellite sees, is displayed in false colors. Blue means it's dark and or it's the darkest, the most darkest. Green is medium, and the yellow and red dots are the brightest ones. For instance, you can hear the city of London in the United Kingdom, Paris, northern Italy, the Alps. I am here in this red bubble. This is Dresden. This is our capital, Berlin, and so on. Well, okay, fine. This is an application called Radiance Light Trends. It's free. You can browse it on the internet and look at measured data in your area. When you do this, you can also zoom in. And for instance, here, this is a center, the city center of Dresden, the city of Dresden. And I can also use this application to measure display the brightness of satellite measured. In this area here, it's 84 nanowatt per square centimeter in steel radiant. What does it mean? Nobody knows, because, okay, fine, it's a radiance value, but what actual light sources are there at the ground that the satellite measures these radiance values? How many, for instance, street lights or private windows and such? And this key question we like to answer with our citizen science project. How is it done? Okay, what have we first done? These are two pictures taken from inner city areas, pretty normal ones. Left-hand side, you can see houses where people live. For instance, you see a ton of different private windows. You see signs and you see streetlights. On the second look, there's more to it, isn't it? Because the windows have different brightnesses. Many are just normal, others are quite dim, and others are really bright, like this one here. And they are of different color. One can see white private windows, others are more orange, or there's even blue ones. On the right-hand side, there's a complete different composition of light sources, like, for instance, this is a shopping mall, in a city shopping mall. There are commercial windows. There are a ton of signs, illuminated signs, video billboards. There is an illuminated facade and such. I will focus you on another detail here. Both photographs shows streetlights. And the one on the left-hand side, both the pictures were taken from above down. And on the left-hand side, you can clearly see this bright one, streetlights, which are shining like white. And on the right-hand side, you can barely see them from above. They are better shielded. They are full cutoff lights, and they have a different color. They are nearly reddish. Okay. So what we have done here is we when we first started with our application, we went outside with pen and paper and noticed all the different light sources we can see. And then we grouped them together and looked what different aspects and properties are relevant for us, okay? So we came up with the following categories: street lights, traffic lights, also, just another word. If you have any questions, please type them in chat, and we will later on discuss it. And the icons I show you here are the same one as we use in our application. Street lights, traffic lights, the private windows as told, and commercial windows. Listen, there may be borders between them which you cannot really say, is this a private window or commercial window? This one here can actually be a doctor's office. Nobody knows, but it doesn't matter. You can say it's a private window, and if you know it, it's more commercial windows like this ones, okay? But if you are unsure, it is not too complicated. It's not a problem. It's better to count every light, and then if there are misbehaviors, not misbehaviors, if there are any mistakes, as long as you do it the same way all the time, it's totally fine for us, okay? And the next point is, if many people do this, there's mathematically it evens out. So any errors are just by statistically they are even out each other. Private windows, commercial windows, lights mounted on buildings, house numbers, and doorbells. You see it's quite a lot. Lit facade, as shown in the right-hand picture. We have different floodlights, path lighting and lit parking lots, bollards, like in parks, for instance. Orientation lights can often be found on staircases, and canopy lights, for instance, on bus stations or public transport stations. Last but not least, different kinds of illuminated signs, ones with exterior lightnings and self-illuminous lightnings, something that has gone get really more and more over the last years are video screens on ATMs and such, light strings, and last but not least, garden decorations and other lights. Okay, why other lights? Well, we really took care to combine or categorize all different light sources we found, and maybe there is still some light sources which do not fit, and we ask our participant to count every light. So if there's something unclear, like for instance mobile light from a construction site or an e-scooter or something like that, just choose other lights and you will be fine. Okay, as I showed you and told you in the pictures I showed at the very beginning of our presentation, there are different properties which are interesting, or we are interested in. For instance, size. Size is always a problem because it's hard to compare actual sizes if you do not have a ruler or something. And so we came up with the idea to use the human body as a reference. For instance, the small size area of a light source is something I can put my arm up, and this area would be that one, or a large size with is a guy standing upwards. And when I stand up and put my arms, that's an area of roughly 2 square meters I cover. And I can compare this with, for instance, private window sizes. This is actually the size we count light private windows in. I will show it in a later slide. Shielding is very important for us. Full cutoff shown on the left-hand side, then partially shielded in the middle, and not shielded on the right one. It can always be a little bit difficult, but you can see it whether, for instance, street light is really shielded or not. If you look at a building, if anything from the light the street light emits is seen above the light on the building, then it's not properly shielded. It's maybe partially shielded, like in the middle. By color, we distinguish between white, orange, and other colors. And for brightnesses, dim, normal, and bright. What is dim, normal, and bright? I showed that in the first picture. What you expect to be a normal brightness for a private window, for instance, the main greatest number of all is always a normal brightness category. And if someone rather dim or bright, then you choose this for this special light source. Okay. After categorizing all the different light sources, we went out and took photos. We have a manual where you can look up different light sources, and in each of these categories there are at least 5 or more pictures of different light sources for this special category. As shown here for street lights, from left to right, there are examples of not shielded, partially shielded, and full cutoff lights. This is done for all different types of light sources, for instance, signs with example pictures and such. This is the first thing we've done. Second here's a Beispiel for private window. Here is an example for private windows. This is really hard for me because it is partially in German and the other part is in English. And when I'm forced to speak English and read German, I jump back to German, which is obviously not helpful. Okay. Windows, private windows. As seen here, as a reference, we choose for one private window the size of a human body. So when you stand in front of a window, one window here would be one size. So you count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 windows. Okay. This explained also in the tutorial, which will be the next point I will explain. Here are some other examples of other light sources, for instance, e-scooters or fountain lights or other stuff. Tutorial. Tutorials are really important for citizen science in general, because if you have many participants who go out and do your research work, you want them to be well trained and good prepared to gain proper and valid data. We've done this by creating an online tutorial. In order to use our application, you have to pass this tutorial. It takes you, I would say, like a quarter hour to 20 minutes, not more. And at the end of this, you get an passphrase which you need to create a user account. And that so we take sure that you pass, or all participants pass this tutorial. Here are, for instance, different example pictures of colors, different light sources. And every time there's such a topic, like here's the colors, later on there are mini quizzes integrated in it, and you have to pick the right choices. Question here is what type of street lights are in this picture or is in this picture. You choose the ones here, press the check button, and the tutorial will tell you whether you are right or not, and give hints on further improvement. Okay, so you passed the tutorial, you downloaded the app to your phone, and now you can choose a transect, but safety first. Please bear in mind, you most likely move in public areas, and there are different things that can happen. First of all, you're not alone on the street. There may be other pedestrians, there are maybe bicycle drivers, cars, like signs and poles you can run into. So it's we recommend that you do not use our application alone, but rather in groups of at least 2 people. The second benefit of being two people, you can talk about different light sources. It's not always clear, as I told you. And what I personally faced many times is you are just overwhelmed when going down the street by the sheer amount of street lights or by the sheer amount of different artificial light sources, and you can easily forget to count 1 or 2 of them, different even categories. And so that happened to me more than once, and I was very glad that I have another person on my side who said, hey, we have to count the signs there and such. Okay. This is an actual screenshots of our application. I will take you through a virtual survey. First of all, when you use our application, it is necessary that you give the permission to use location-based services, because our location enable the geolocation where you are, because we have to know where you actually are in order to show the map and show the predefined transects, or even let you create a transect. What is a transect? A transect is a street or a part of a street, normally from corner to corner. And we do not count every light with an explicit position, but rather we count all the lights alongside this transect. So I will show you this here, and bear in mind, the data I have collected are not exactly where I stand, but rather on this street. So when you later on click on it, you see that there are so and so many private windows, so and so many street lamps, and so on. Okay, using the app by or starting a survey by pushing the plus button. Then you have then you are asked whether you want to use a predefined transect from the map. This is what you most likely will not be able to do in places where you are, because we have quite a lot of predefined transects, but they are mainly in Germany here, some in the United States, but we rather encourage you to create your own transects. So in my case here, I use a transect from the map. The application then asked me that I have to be within an area of 15 meters around the start of the transect. It's done here, I start then. Okay. We not only count the lights there, but in our current campaign, we are also interested in how many people are traveling there, because we want to see differences of lights, whether they are on and off all the night, or are they switched off later on, and so. And in conjunction to this, we also want to know how many people are there. For instance, if I go down the street and I see no people other than me, why are there then lights in first hand? Why are there commercial windows if no one is there visiting them? Okay, so we ask you to count the amount of people you see. Then you see the actual transect. We are walking down now. The blue bubble or the blue dot, the blue circle dot is the actual position where are you. And if we want to count a light, we press on the plus button again. I will show you now how to count light sources. This is a manual. All the categories I showed you some slides ago are shown here in our application. In my case, I want to count a street light. So I press on light on poles. We have grouped some of the light sources or light categories into groups. As I here, for instance, light on poles. I click light on poles and I ask whether it's a street light, pass light, or parking lot lights. I choose street lights. And I can then enter the properties here, which are in my case partially shielded, white, and of normal brightness. Then I press the next button and I can have a counter where I can press the plus and minus button to count the actual amount of street lights. When I'm finished with this, I press done. Then I, for instance, see signs like this one, lit signs. I press it. In my case, it's an illuminated sign with exterior lights. And you see here that the properties are different because we are, the size is not relevant, for instance, for a street light, but it is relevant for a sign. So this depending on what different category you choose, you are offered different properties. Like in this case, I choose a sign which is medium. Medium means it's larger so that I have to hold my hand here. So it's like, I don't know, this area here. It's of other color and it's of normal brightness. When doing so and walking down the street, I can toggle between the map view and the list view, and in the list view I see all the different light types I have counted. And for instance, if I see another window, I can also use this screen to add more to the private windows. And when I'm done, I'm pressing the finish button. And by doing so, I will see the transact and I'm asked some final questions. First of all, how many vehicles did I face? Have there been lights controlled by motion sensors? What is the size of streets or path lightnings? Are they smaller or taller or shorter than buildings? And last but not least, how many people do I see on the end of the transact? Okay, that's it. We've done a measurement. That have been done in 2021 in our campaign, where mainly in Germany, more than 200 citizen scientists participated. An area of 22 square kilometers was covered, so it is really appropriate for doing large area lighting inventories. And our citizen scientists walked 645 kilometers. Walked by foot. So this is another example. This can only be done by a large group of people, right? And more than 250,000 artificial light sources were counted. Okay, why are we calling for more data? I will show you this. All what I have shown you now are what we first done was we were interested in all the lights in an area. Now we are interested in the question, how do light change over the night? I have here two different screenshots, two different graphs. The first one, please focus on the first one, is streetlights. On the lower, the x-axis is the time from 18 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the morning, or for you American guys, 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. in the morning. And on the left-hand side is a relative between different times on the same transact. Oh, forget this. What we have done is, in last spring, some of us went outside and took the same transact and measured and counted tip service to different times on the same transact. And this actual graph shows the difference in the time. What you see here is, in the first one, the street lights did not change a lot. There's a cluster of dots around the 1 mark. That means that in the early and on the late time, there were no big differences between the count, the amount of street lights. This is mainly because in the areas our citizen scientists counted the light sources, street lights are not turned off, right? Another example here are private windows, and now it's getting interesting. again, we have the time here from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. and the relativity. We assume that all the lights are on early in the evening, and during the night time, they are switched off. And this is just a question we asked, when are different light types switched off? For instance, private windows or signs, are they switched off at the same time all over Europe or in your country, for instance? And if we have enough data, we can combine and compare the data we've collected here in Germany with data from your country, which can be really interesting for us. And yes, okay. So and one more really important thing is, I showed you the satellite data. Currently, there's only one satellite, a US American-based satellite. It's called Suomi NPP. It's from the US Weather Service. I don't know the exact name, but it's by NASA. And this satellite takes measurements early in the morning or late at night, in the middle of the night, at 2 a.m. 2 a.m. or 2 a.m. 2:30 a.m. Here in Europe, it's 2 a.m. And the main issue is, of course, when we counted lights, our participant did this in the evening hours. And so to get the correlation between the satellite data and the actual data we counted on the ground here, may be different. And we hope that as a side effect of our survey here, we can have a better correlation between this data collected in 2021 and the actual measurements from satellites. Okay. How can you participate? Well, from 0 to 100, there are only 5 steps. First, you have to complete the online tutorial. I showed you this. And please bear in mind, notice the passphrase you were given when passing it. Second, please install the Nachtlight app on your phone and create a user account. Our web application is device independent. You can run it on any Android or Apple iPhone. It's not listed in the app stores. You have to visit our webpage. And when you go to our webpage, there's a link. You can click on it. It opens the application in your browser, and it asks whether you want to install it on your phone. Then you have to plan your observation. You can do it anywhere you like, in the street you live, in the street you work, in downtown, wherever you like. Fourth, you have to create a transect for you where you want to measure. If there is a transect already, please do not create a new one, rather use use the already defined ones. And you can do this on your PC or Macintosh or on your phone. It's more convenient to do it on PC, but you can do it on your phone too. And even what I showed you in the first slide when I explained our application, you can also do it by walking down the street just on the fly. And then you're ready to go, count lights. Okay, time for the night. To join us, there is a QR code you can scan, and I have here the website of our project where you find further information. There are a ton of examples. There are links to all other resources and such. And I think that Betty Maya sent the website or the URL to our website with the invitation to tonight's talk. Don't be irritated when you click the page. Most likely it will be in German, but there's a switch where you can change to English language. Okay, I'm done, and I'm happy to answer your questions now.
Thank you, Sicco. That was a really great presentation, and so many people have questions. I feel like a lot of people are really interested and excited about this. So thank you so much for sharing all of that information and the helpful links and tutorials. I've been popping things in the chat, and we will send those links in our recording email as well, which we'll send out later today. There are definitely a lot of questions, so I will go ahead and get started with those. I mean, the first question I have is this, it definitely seems doable, but like when I'm going about it, I might come up with some questions. Are you available, or is there a general email that people can reach out to if they have questions about this?
Yes, you can contact me, or you can contact anyone from our team. There is a contact email on our webpage.
Perfect.
Oh,
Thank
I
you.
totally forget one really important time matters. The current project or our current research frame, the current campaign finishes end of October. So we ask you really to do it in next 4 weeks. There are reasons for it. First of all, the scientists will only use data collected from September to October. We do not want our participants to go later on outside, because in November it's not comfortable to use mobile phone when it's cold outside, at least here in Europe, for instance, or cold, and whether it's getting really rainy and such. And another main issue here is in November, the season is coming, right? And at least here in Europe, and I know in the United States it's too, so there are many different season lights, right? Like trees and light facades and all that.
Yeah.
And we do not want to mess up this with our data. So the current window of opportunity is within the next 4 weeks.
Great. So we all have our homework to do, and we have our deadline. So thank you. By October 31st, we'll do it before Halloween. Great. So Gail asked the first question. She says, is the Nachtlicht app data for a particular area or town available for downloading or upon request?
All our data is public accessible, and all the data is in different files. You can just now download it from our webpage, or from the application actually. You can also run the application in your local browser, and you can download it, and it's all in files. There's a description of it, and all the data, it's not, currently it's not a large file, it's some megabytes or what. It's all the data collected.
Sicco, you are kind of breaking up for me. I'm not sure if everybody else as well.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it's me. It's just me.
Okay.
It's a me problem. Okay.
I can repeat it. Our data is open accessible. Our data is open accessible, and you can download it from our webpage. And it's always up to date. So if you download it, it's took from the databases, and you can use it.
Okay. Is my connection? Are you guys having trouble hearing me at all?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Okay, I can probably get on a different internet, but Sicco, I'm gonna make you the host for a second in case I drop off. Michael, do you want to ask some of the next questions, and I will hop back on here? I'll put them in Slack for you.
Most certainly. Sicco, we got a question from Alicia on Facebook. She asks, are there any plans to make something available like this for younger people? She's interested in presenting this to her Girl Scouts group. Is there a way to get younger people, children involved in this?
Sure. It's not only about the research or the observing area, but when I started doing it, or now, I do not see artificial light sources the same way I did like 4 years before, right? Because every light I see, I ask myself, why is there a light in the first place, or this is not good shielded and such. And I guess when it's done with kids or younger people, they can learn a lot about artificial light and the problems affecting that, for instance, with our tutorial and such. And sure, now it's time, like it's now getting here, it's already it's 8 p.m. for me here in Germany. It's dark outside, so later on in the month you can do it with children's, and it's not too late, like 7 p.m. or 6:30 or so.
So just doing it with them and
Mhm.
letting them kind of learn with you. That's a great
Mhm.
idea.
Mhm.
Todd Burlett, one of our leaders from Minnesota, asked, how would industrial lights be categorized? You know, refineries can be very bright, for example.
Mhm. They have some industrial areas people have counted there, and I would suggest that you use like uh, poles when you see it. It's rather, we have one category that is I've done this like lit facades. You can do so for like refineries are big chunks of pipelines and such, right? And you can imagine that this is maybe like a facade, and you can say it's a lit facade and a rather bright one, for instance, because it's rather impossible to count all distinguished light sources there.
All right, is this better, everyone? Can you hear me?
I think you're better now. Yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks for hopping in, Michael.
Yep.
Okay, so we got Todd's question. Eric asks, it would be awesome to get those slides. Is it possible to share the slides, Sicco? I know there was one that looked like we couldn't post on Twitter, but maybe the stuff that is published, is it possible to share that with us? Perfect. So that's a yes, Eric. All right. Andy Krejci from Santa Cruz asks, Cobra head LED fixtures can be pointed down, but with diodes on a flat surface. Through refraction and scattering, light escapes out and up. Are these fixtures still considered shielded? Your diagram implied that they are.
Yes, I think so, because I mean, it's always when you are on such sharp borders like this ones and questions that are hard to answer, then maybe it's in the eye of the viewer. Like you can have a slightly different opinions than myself, but we are not harsh on this.
Okay. Amy, let's hop to Facebook here. Amy wants to know if you can do this in areas where you don't have a cell signal.
Yes, you can do it because the data is stored. You do not have, you can do it offline. It's modern mobile phones can do this. The application is stored in, the data is stored in the application, and it is transmitted to the servers when you are back online.
Very cool. Good thinking through that, because I feel like a lot of people might not have a
When you
cell
are
signal
like in
everywhere.
remote places or such where you do not have a cell signal, you can do this rather. Only one you really rely on is your geo position.
Great. Well, that is useful. We have another question from Gail in Nantucket. How do you avoid or eliminate duplication by different users of the app counting the same lights?
You mean, no, it's beneficial. If different people count the same transact to different times, it is rather beneficial for us.
Okay. So we want that. We want people
We want
going
it. We want many data. And
okay.
I forget something very special about our current current campaign. We want you to count this or take service on the same transact to different times, like early, like 7 p.m. and later, like 9 p.m.
Okay, so you want people to
get this
go,
difference.
yeah,
Yes.
in different times in the same
We
night.
do not go out in a larger area, but rather do less transacts more often on different times. Okay.
Cool. The next question comes from Eric again. He said, I back onto a pond with a pathway around it, and there are a ton of backyard type lights and private home lights that shine out onto the pond. Is this something that I could record in the app, or is it just intended for streets exclusively?
No, you can define your own transact like in backyards or in parks. On parks, it is not restricted to streets, and we have also took service in parks, local parks. Does it answer your question? Yes.
Yeah, sounds like a yes. You can go anywhere.
Okay. Yes, you can go anywhere. It's not restricted to streets.
Cool. That's great. Carol asks, from what proximity do you choose the size demonstrated with like the open arms human body?
Like when now with the window, when you are in front of it, and when you cannot always be there and measure it, but then it's up to you to see, okay, that's rather so or so. Please bear in mind, for instance, when you stand in a small street and look right up, the angle of view changes the impression you have, because you always think when you have a multi-stage, multi-floor building, and you look upside, you on the top, the windows appear smaller, but they are not really.
Cool. So we're just estimating as close as we can, basically. Okay. So Todd again asks, I can tell Todd and Eric are going to be out there doing this because they have a lot of questions. Todd says, does the application integrate with other measurement tools such as sky quality meters or light meters?
No. In the design process, we ask ourselves if we could do this, but we also said no. What you can do is, we have a command field at the end, and you can enter private commands for your survey, and then you can cross-reference it with any data you've collected otherwise.
Well, is that helpful for you? Would you recommend if people have a sky quality meter or like a LM3 that measures color temperature that they bring that out as well?
No, because we do not exactly measure light pollution, but rather artificial light. I mean, you can do this, but rather than report it to an application like Globe at Night, for instance. They not only have this feature with the constellations and your visual impacts, your visual impression, but you can also send in data you measured with the sky quality meter. But it's not focused on our application.
But while you're out there, especially in the cities and on the streets, it's a great time to be taking Globe at Night data during the October campaign, right? So you can.
Yes, for instance, that is the place I showed you. This is, for instance, one Dresden Altstadt in one of my first slides. When you stand there, you can only see like a handful of stars, like 5 the brightest ones. It's really, really bright sky there.
Yeah, and from Chris's presentation, that's actually some of the most helpful places to take Globe at Night data, right? Is in the cities, in areas where there is light pollution. So lots of opportunities to get involved this month. All right, Gail has another question, kind of along with Anna, similar question. Is another campaign planned for the fall or winter holidays? And will there be another campaign for 2024?
Okay, the fundings of our project ended this year, so we do not have, we do not know how it goes further next year, and we have no plans to do any like season countings or season service to, for instance, no, just no.
No, okay, so we got to do it now. We want to take
You
part. We got to do it
now.
this month. We have until October 31st. Okay. Great. Pranesh asks, how much minimum data is required for any particular area? Should we focus the efforts to specific areas to get enough data that can provide meaningful insights?
No, but it's better to count the same transact to different times. This is really the main point we are focusing on, to see the, let me just, to get more into this, to get more data for this graphs. We are really interested, this is shown for private windows and for streetlights. For instance, we have only a handful of data for signs now. And so it would be beneficial if you are in an area where are street signs that are illuminated, and if you can then do multiple surveys on the same transacts where streetlights are, where signs are for different times of the night. And if you want to be, it's really helpful if you have a really late or early, like 1 a.m. in the morning or so, because this is around the time the satellite will take measurements, and this is really helpful.
Great. I think there may be a lot of night owls here in this group today. So Bonaventure, not sure if I'm saying that right, but beautiful name, asks, who is the end user of the data that we get from this campaign? Or like, where is this data going? Who's really trying to use this data?
Okay, one of the people already mentioned is Christopher Kyber. Actually, he was scheduled for presenting this this presentation here today, but we have colliding timeframes, and so he asked me to whether I can jump in here and present the data. So light pollution researchers and scientists, for instance, because you can imagine if we know what causes light pollution like the most are private windows initially. And you can ask people to choose blinds for their windows, or if you can see that there is a ton of commercial lights for commercial windows or banners and such, and nobody is walking there, then you can say, hey, nobody is seeing your signs anyway, so please shut them off. And
Yep.
yes, so that is the main thing. And the data is publicly available, and everybody can work with it. It's open data.
That's great. And are you guys planning to release like a paper and an analysis of all of this data that we can learn,
Yes.
we can all learn from as
We
well?
have an ongoing, yes, of course we will do this. We have a paper releasing about the methodology behind this, or mainly what I've talked about, and more in detail on different topics. And how we, for instance, is data validity and is always a point you have to consider in citizen science, and we took measurements to guarantee that our data is valid. For instance, and that is in one of our upcoming papers, and then we will, of course, present a paper about this the last campaign 2021 and this one here. What really I have to tell you is what really harms and hinders us a lot is COVID pandemic, because there were lockdowns and such, and we were not able to go first. We are behind schedule because we wanted to meet in person, which was not possible. And on the other hand, I'm now more confident in doing online events like this one. But
Yes.
this hinders us, and we are a little bit behind schedule for reasons.
Aren't we all? All right, we're getting more questions coming in. This is a popular topic. I'm so excited to see how people are really excited about this. So Eric has another quick data question. How is the relative lights on parameter calculated here? Would 1 be the average / mean?
1 here would be yes. In this case here, it is this is a data. It's only just a small. This is why the private windows is such a curve, is such a scattering all around. Just a small sample data we choose, and it is what we've done the following. This is a model. It's a mathematical model. It's called a logistic function. You can look it up. And what we have done here is we run a model against our data, and the best fit is shown here. And 1 is always the relation between the late and the early survey for the same transact. For instance, here in the upper graph, you can see stars, and some are above and some are below. And these are street lights for 4 different time points taken by the same participant, and obviously he miscounted because he have 1 streetlight more and 1 less later on. But all this data is filtered out. So if we have more input data, all this is statistically flattened out and looks perfectly fine later on. Does this answer your question?
I think so. Thank you for answering that. I need to go back and take some math classes. That's what I learned. We have 1 more question. Okay, we got 2 more questions. I'll try to get through them in the next 2 minutes. So Carol Cole asks, we developed a simple lighting inventory protocol based on Survey 123, which I think is like an app. But your app is so much user friendly and broader. Is there any way that the app could be made available to be used, data collected locally, etc., for other areas?
You can do this, of course, with our app. You can do this, and the data is just in our in our big set of data. You can do this in your local areas. It's no problem.
So Gail asks, related to Carol's question, could the app be replicated by others? How difficult would that be? Is it kind of that maybe it's not necessary to replicate the app because it's usable by everyone everywhere?
Mhm. It is because you can do your own private service. You can just start with this and download the data, and you have it there.
Great. Well, we have 1 minute, so I'm going to start wrapping up. Sicco, would you be willing to put your email in the chat if people have
Oh,
follow-up
sure.
questions or
Yes,
the other
you have
emails that
mine,
people
right?
could reach out to? Oh, okay. So the main question is, will the app be available after October 31st?
It will be. It will be. It will be supported quite a while, and we will see what the future brings. Okay.
Great. All right. So there is Sicco's email in the chat. Thank you so much for your great presentation. So many people were really excited about this, and I am looking forward to hearing from all of you who've attended today how it went. Please let us know in Slack, send Sicco and I emails. Let us know how you do when you're taking your transect. We'd love to hear your experience and see how this data, how the light changes. And I think it's going to be super useful. The paper in Science with the globe at night data was incredible and really useful for our work as DarkSky advocates, and I think this will be no different. So we are incredibly supportive of all the work you're doing, Sicco, and thank you so much for being here with us today. Sicco will not be with us live for the later session because I think it will be maybe 3 a.m. for you. So we will be playing the recording of this session for our second Advocate Action time slot later today, but we do appreciate you being here with us live this morning to answer questions. And I will say thank you again. And if you have any final words, please share them with us.
Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to be here. It was very nice to present our project here, and thank you very much for all the questions.
Great. Well, I'm sure we'll stay in touch and let us know if, hopefully there's a spike in data all around the world after this presentation today. And we look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye. Thanks, everyone.